evening.
Hello, everyone.
Hi there.
We're getting started.
I'm Mary Jo Riley. I am the supervisor of Thrive 55 Plus, and with me is Tabitha Harkin, and she is a planner for the town of Groton. And tonight we wanted to talk about age-friendly Groton. Part of it being age-friendly, I'm going to turn over to Tabitha because she's the one that really knows it, but it is a program through AARP. We have been designated as an age-friendly community, but there is responsibilities that go along with that, one being developing an action plan. So I'm going to turn it over to Tabitha to talk about the action plan.
Thank you, Mary Jo. That's a really good summary, actually. So it is a designation from AARP that basically says that we're trying to strive to have well-designed, age-friendly communities which foster economic growth and make for happier, healthier residents of all ages. So it's considering accessibility in everything that we do, age friendliness for all age groups, how we can mix together and diversify together, and be a part of this World Health Organization global network of age-friendly communities. So as Mary Jo said, we have time to put together a community assessment and an action plan, and we have some items drafted for that action plan tonight that we'll show you, and then we're asking for your feedback on those items. Our committee is Mary Jo, Kathy Chase, who couldn't come tonight, unfortunately, Beverly Washington, and then myself and Sierra Patrick from the City of Groton. So we've been meeting about monthly and working out these action items and really filing that paperwork and information with the AARP to get that designation. So we're going to dive into our goals and actions, and what we're going to do is we'll start with a little slide of what we're talking about, and then Mary Jo will take information from all of you on what you think we should include in our plan. So housing. AARP surveys consistently find that the vast majority of older adults want to reside in their current home or community for as long as possible. So doing so is possible if a home is designed or modified for aging in place, for example, a first floor, walkout type of situation, or if a community has housing options that are suitable for differing incomes, ages, and life stages. So some of our housing goals, I apologize, I thought I'd have a bigger screen, were to create more one-story senior-friendly housing, to provide safe short-term housing and shelter to all, to support the creation of affordable housing, and then as actions to work with the town to incentivize development of senior housing, to provide technical assistance on housing applications, and to support the town staff in the creation of inclusionary zoning bylaw. And just to inform some of you that might not understand what that means, an inclusionary zoning bylaw is one that takes a percentage of housing that is built or developed on market rate housing and says it must be affordable housing for a certain income bracket. So this is where I open it to you. These were just some ideas of what we can include. Have we missed anything? Is there something you'd like to say on the topic of housing tonight? I'm just going to ask that you use the microphone, though. I'm sorry.
Can I just talk loudly?
I wish you could, but it's being recorded.
Oh, okay. All right. My name is Kate Sod, and I live in Mystic, Connecticut. Something that has always bothered me is I see these senior housing communities that are like out in the countryside, and they're away from the community, and they're very isolated. My mother-in-law was in one of those, and she said she really didn't like it there because all she ever saw was other old people. So I think what we really need to do as part of any plan is to integrate our senior housing into the community itself and not have it off isolated. Like, to me, Stone Ridge in Stonington is kind of isolated from the rest of the community.
Thank you.
Sure.
And we have that here. We're taking notes. So senior housing that is not isolated.
Should we be doing who we are?
Yeah, well, It's always good to know who you are.
House odd, also on Mystic. Is that, are we on? Am I on?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that not so much isolated, that's one thing, it's not isolated, but certainly, but is actually immersed within it. So that right now, there's nothing in the zoning right now that precludes that. In fact, it's, I can't say it's encouraged, though, is that if we ever come up with a downtown Groton, within it is where the senior housing should be, not someplace that you have to get onto a bus to get to it. We have that problem with any number of communities, including what we call affordable housing. Most of it is they can't walk to a grocery store, and we've kind of lost that. So once we get to senior housing, you need grocery stores less for various reasons, but they still want to be able to walk to a restaurant, not have to arrange for a bus.
Thank you, Hal. Part of the community. Great. Any other suggestions on the topic of housing? So everyone's okay with the ones that are here?
How's that sound?
I think you might want to, actually.
This
yes.
over here. And, okay.
Just hold on to that.
I'll pass it around if people want it. How's that sound? Is that the support and creation of affordable housing, that's not separate to this. That's a huge overlap with, we already have an affordable housing plan, right? So
It would support that
Is this
plan.
action plan support it, saying, oh yes, do it? I mean, I don't know what else is, how it would be different than the affordable housing plan, except for what you have, isn't Dawn here, is that the affordable housing that this would support would be the senior-friendly housing.
Yes.
So it's all one sentence. So it's to support the creation of senior-friendly
Senior-friendly
affordable
affordable
housing.
housing. Yes.
Because the other affordable housing is already taken care of.
You said all ages too, right?
Yes, this is an age-friendly plan, but we do want to make sure that it's encompassing senior-friendly options.
Another aspect of the housing too is that you all probably want to stay in your own homes, is looking at how are you modifying your home so you can stay there. If you live in a two-story home, is there a way to bring your bedroom down to the main floor and modify your home that way? Are you putting grab bars up? Are you, checking where you potentially have fall risk in your home? So assessing your own personal home is part of the housing that will allow you to stay there and age in place. So that's something else that we have at Thrive 55 done programs on fall prevention, but really it's adapting your home so you can age there safely.
Exactly. Okay, so I'm going to move on because we have a few categories. The next one is outdoor spaces in buildings. So this is a favorite of everyone in Groton. I think we have beautiful outdoor spaces. So this is about public places to gather, indoors and out. So when they're talking about indoors, I think they're talking about congregate care and facilities that have, like the one we're in, accessible buildings and places that can be enjoyed by all people. So there's quite a few goals and actions here. I think Mary Jo was excited. So we have providing easy to navigate system to orient residents and visitors, upgrade municipal buildings to full accessibility, support the creation of a town green and or places to gather, recreate, and socialize, install more bus shelters, benches, and signs for seniors traveling on foot, plant more trees for shade, provide shade for eating areas. And then actions to go with that would be to work with the town of Groton to plan for and implement wayfinding signs, work with the town of Groton to plan for and implement benches, bus shelters, and trees, hold an accessibility audit for ADA upgrades needed for municipal buildings to ensure ADA access, get a committee formed to advocate for a town green at Gloucester with space for gathering and parking, talk to Parks and Recreation about expanding events for seniors in outdoor spaces, and advocate for a pedestrian bridge or some kind of connection spanning to Fitch, crossing Route 1. So some of these are more discrete actions and some are a little bit more broad. I think we have a comment in the back, and you have your own microphone. Wonderful.
We have our own private mic here. I guess the first question I have is what are the,
Tell her who you are.
I'm sorry. John Silsby, I've lived in Groton for 20 years. I came here in 2000. Spent 11 years as the Parks and Recreation Director, and the next 11 retired. My wife also was a former town employee, Robin.
In your department.
I've seen your name.
Oh, geez, okay.
Uh-oh. The categories you have, I got some comments, but a lot of them have to do with outdoor things, but walking and, transportation. Is this the proper area to speak, or is there other things coming up?
Well, we're going to do transportation separately, but if you have things about walking and outdoor things, then yes, this would be the time to talk about that.
Okay, well, I have several comments. You can fit them in as where you'd like to. But, one of the biggest problems with seniors walking in Groton is the lack of sidewalks. I know putting sidewalks on every street that they don't exist is probably an impossible task, but as a kind of an alternative, I think we need to educate our seniors in terms of safe walking, particularly when they're walking on roads. And I think there should be some signs installed telling people the appropriate way to be walking when they're walking. I think the only place in the town of Groton where there are signs that tell people to walk against traffic is over on River Road. But I think that should be implemented throughout the town. A few other ideas that I have in terms of walking, which, being a former recreation guy, promoting exercise obviously is important in terms of walking. But another idea that I had was setting up self-directed walking tours through some of the historical parts of Mystic that you could do on your own. That you get the exercise, but you also get the advantage of learning more about the community that you're in.
And I just want to add to
Good
that,
idea.
using a QR code would be very helpful, because you know how that all works. Well, not everybody knows how it works, but it would be very beneficial to have that.
Yeah, you see those everywhere, the QR codes.
There is one, isn't there, for this, a historical location?
There might be, but I'm
There may
not-
be.
For Thames Street, there's a couple of apps,
Okay.
historical areas that
There probably are, but the other half of it is making sure everybody is aware of it through the town's website. Now, I know the town on their GPS website, GIS, sorry. See, I married her so she could keep me straight, but on the website the trails are there. If you can find them, they're there for your use. But I think we need to be some way make them more available to people. Promote them through the website and other ways. And besides promoting the natural trails, which are throughout the community, also the ones that have been, surfaced. For example, the trolley trail, which is, runs parallel to the railroad track between Haley Farm and Esther Point. Couple other thoughts. Maybe we should have, in some certain places, the availability of senior parking. Again, accessibility for seniors is difficult, and certainly we have some real parking issues, particularly in downtown Mystic. But it would be nice to have, people I'm sure don't go there because they can't park. And if you're older, it makes it even more difficult to park. He mentioned transportation. We'll leave that off of here for the time being. Another thought, which may tie into the Claude Chester, is I know we have some farmers markets. Perhaps we could use some of our closed school parking lots and have more farmers markets, which would be more available to seniors.
Maybe one central location, because, it's hard to find. The city has farmers markets, Stonington has farmers markets, but a lot of times people don't know where to look. where are those markets? Do we have any in Groton? There used to be some on Wednesdays in the town, but there's no central location to find them virtually where they are located or otherwise.
So centralized hub for farmers
Yeah.
markets.
I mean, we have so many closed schools now, and obviously every one of them's got a large parking lot, so taking advantage of the parking areas, particularly for farmers markets and maybe other activities for seniors, might be a possibility there. I believe we still have like a family day in Groton. I think the police run that. That might be a way of marketing some of these ideas, getting them out to the public a little bit better. And what else do I have? I think that's probably just about it. What else do we
Well,
have?
we were also talking about, this kind of ties into Thrive 55, Mary Jo, but, and I think you've done this in the past, but maybe having an adult, not family friendly or whatever, but just an adult event, sorry. Maybe an event outside just for adults, maybe outside here at Thrive 55, just to kind of get people together, to maybe introduce them to Thrive 55 a little more, and to meet other people in the area, whether you're a senior or not a senior. We don't have a lot of that. We have a lot of family activities, which is wonderful. But, there are a lot of adults who, are single. And I'm not trying to
Or don't
match
have a
people,
family.
right?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to match them up to others, but like, just a place to go, just events once in a while. And then you might, to tie it into Thrive 55, you might get people who are part of, members of Thrive 55 out there at the event, right? And then they're talking to this one, that one, and then maybe that other person wouldn't be so inhibited to walk through these doors. As you know, that's been an issue,
Scary, I know.
right?
Yeah.
So you're talking about older adults?
No, I don't think it matters. Whether it be 20 years old, it's good to integrate all the ages, over a certain age. But I think it's really nice to have, I think it would be nice to have that.
We
'Cause-
have started during COVID doing, and you'll notice out in the parking lot now is a stage. So we call them sunset serenades, and we get bands to play early evening, just around sunset. And it's really nice because you get the neighbors walking over because they hear the music, so they want to come see what's going on. So I think that's along the lines of what you're talking about.
It is, but I want to include younger adults as well.
Yep.
And no offense, but with that name you just said, Sunset Serenade, it doesn't speak to 20 and 30-year-olds. So just, I'm sorry. I mean, I'm a senior and it doesn't speak to me either, so,
What kind of music do you want?
well, I'm an old generation kind of girl.
You're on the planning committee then.
Yeah, okay.
Watch out, we'll get
I know, right?
Okay, so I'm going to have to move on. Oh, wait, we still have a couple points.
Chime in here is that, because I actually have a
Microphone, Hal. And then behind you, I saw you too, so you're next.
I actually take exception to your points that say, your advocacy here, because they're very specific, and it was something that, it's like a decision was made. Get a committee formed to advocate for a town green, I like that. At Claude Chester, we haven't decided that. So where a town green goes, if it's just a corner of Claude Chester, which is actually a piece of Pequannock Plains Park, I don't know who decided that's a thing to advocate for, or just to advocate just for a town green. Personally, I think where it should end up is in downtown, which hasn't happened yet, but someplace around Groton Plaza is where we would like it to be, and that would be a good thing to advocate for, though that's private property. But just to say, I want a town green,
Sure.
maybe we can get up there. And the
Point
same
taken.
thing with advocate for a pedestrian bridge spanning to Fitch. That's a very specific engineered project, that has to be weighed against, can we just make the intersection more safe? So advocate for better pedestrian connection across Route 12 at Fitch. That would be the advocacy, not for a bridge, because I don't think anybody really wants that.
Very good points, Al. Thank you. I just started another, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Am I the only one that thinks that the only way to get around practically in this town is by your own car? You know, and transportation, I've tried to look up the maps that SEAT uses, and I don't find them as easy to see transfer points or time connections as I do in other towns. And I live on a bus route, so I know that, you know, it's possible to get around, but how do people get around if they don't have a car to get these places? So you have to sort of make your own community wherever you are, if you can't get there and don't have a car, or public transportation.
Well, I think we have a comment.
Yeah, the bus doesn't even come to West Mystic.
The what?
So these are great points for transportation. I think it might be
We
next.
got transportation.
Oh, look, it's
And here
next.
we are. Okay.
But I do believe, did you have something to say,
Do you
Sierra? I
want me
just
to
wanted to,
sanitize that?
no. So Sierra Patrick is here as well, and she's from the city of Groton, so thanks for coming, Sierra. So the next section is transportation, as we just started to talk about. So driving shouldn't be the only way to get around. Pedestrians need sidewalks and safe crossable streets. Dedicated bicycle lanes benefit non-drivers and drivers alike. Public transit options can range from the large scale, like trains, buses, or light rail, to the small scale, taxis, shuttles, or rideshare. So some of the goals we have sketched out so far are to encourage walking, biking, and public transit options, create more and better connections between the town and the city, provide better and faster public transportation, encourage the use of e-bikes, increase transportation options to and from events and programming such as church. And some actions that would go with that would be to conduct an assessment of walkable sidewalks and bike lanes, conduct a survey of residents on what works and what doesn't, coordinate sidewalk projects across the town and city boundaries, work with SEAT to install more and better appointed bus shelters, work with Groton Public Works to increase the sidewalk network by, they threw out 150%. I think it's just a general goal, and we could talk about that. Hold a public transit day and create educational materials for using public transportation or other modes of transportation for disabled and multilingual users. Create a budget to pay a driver for senior shuttle for accessing more events. And work with local bike vendor to hold demo e-bike days, which is when you can try out an e-bike.
And coming up next week, we are actually having a bike expo, so if you want to come, it's the 9th, and we will have e-bikes and all different types of bikes for people to try out.
Very fun.
Is this more than just Pedigo, or is this going to be a bunch of different people coming?
Yeah, a lot of different bike shops are coming, and also Bike Connecticut, which is an organization that we work with.
Well, it's a good announcement. I want people to hear it.
I think there are some real safety issues on our roads around town. I live on a very wide street that was redone a few years ago, and they never striped it for walking or biking at the side. And you know, I think I see a few people biking, but I don't consider it particularly safe. And as far as walking goes, I was brought up to walk facing the traffic. There are so many people that walk with the traffic in black clothes. You can't even see them at night.
Maybe you want to bring
Sean,
up
do I have
that
my
we have the
own?
complete streets action that's happening right now.
Right. So I think you
Which takes
have.
care of your assessment, so.
Yes, there is a group a committee has formed very recently in the town for complete streets, which is to do an assessment of the sidewalk conditions and the walkability of the town. So Andre Baumgartner is leading that effort, I believe.
Hosting it.
He's hosting it. So, and you're sitting on that, right? So we have a committee member here.
It also has to do with bike lanes and crosswalks and having, matching up cars and pedestrians and bikes and make sure they're all accounted for on every street in one way or another.
Sierra, you have something to say?
I was gonna just say, I just ditto that
You're on.
Oh, it might not be.
Yeah, it's on.
Oh,
The
it's
light's
on,
on.
okay.
You might have to hold it right up to your mask.
Yeah, it's on.
Okay. Just ditto the complete streets policy or just assessment in both the city and the town, and just to ditto that the city is also looking at complete streets and highlighting, starting to identify specific intersections that we really want to look at to pull that information together and work with the community to use tactical urbanism to start to retrofit things out to see what works and what doesn't work.
That's super fun. So do you want to explain what tactical urbanism is to people?
So tactical urbanism basically is temporary installations of different designs on maybe a road network to try, like before you put in permanent medians or extending curb cuts, you actually use paint or planters or just things that are movable in temporary fashion, but you design it so you can test out anything that you're trying to do. So if you're decreasing a lane width, but you need to test if fire trucks can get through, you can do that with these dividers or different marks, and then have a couple trial areas of those vehicles being able to use or having people being able to cross, and seeing how that relationship of bikes, cars, and pedestrians kind of interact before you actually make that investment in an actual long-term construction bill.
Thank you. Go ahead.
This is kind of a crazy comment, but I know many of our streets have been chopped up by Eversource because they've been putting in gas lines, and they have not done a very good job of fixing the streets. So those of us that are older and drive don't particularly enjoy riding over the holes that have been left by Eversource. So I don't know if this fits in here, but it certainly is something we all have to live with every day.
Thank you. Any other comments on this?
I might just throw this in here because it's Complete Streets might not come up with it. Complete Streets says, here's where your street is and how can you fix the street. But this might be able to do it, is that right now, traveling by bicycle or walking, there's two huge barriers going east to west across town. We have two ridges going through town. You go way uphill and way downhill, 2 times. You can't do it by bicycle unless you're in great shape. Rerouting how the bicycle route could level out that considerably, but you just can't follow the street. So this, if there's an action, it might be to find some other route to get bicycles on a more level ground or a more gradual gradient.
Like a switchback.
Like, well, either switchbacks or going into green spaces or however you want to do it. You can go downhill and go around, so it's through the woods if that's what it takes, and if you get GOSA to agree with it, but something so that we have some better route. Electric bike takes care of that, but electric bikes are $2,000. We still want kids to be able to have a $200 bike and be able to go.
Great, thank you.
My kids could not ride their bikes from where we live in West Mystic to middle school because they would have had to ride their bikes on Route 1. And we lived on the other side of Route 1 from the middle school, from Cutler Middle School, because there are no sidewalks on Route 1 and there's no bike paths on Route 1, and you don't want your kids riding their bikes on Route 1. I mean, like, Route 1 is the major connector between West Mystic and downtown Groton. And it's just not people-friendly at all. It's only car-friendly.
It's a state-owned roadway, yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
so I mean, if we could build sidewalks or bike paths or multi-use paths along Route 1 and, I don't know, put in switchbacks or whatever, because my kids had to ride the bus because they lived across the street on the other side of Route 1. I mean,
Thank you.
There is a sidewalk from Noankin to Mystic, am I correct, on one side of the street?
Yes.
Is there some sort of map that identifies where all the sidewalks are in both the town and the city?
I believe there is. I can't say definitively right now, but I would imagine they track that information in CAD and GIS. So.
I think in the past few years, what I have noticed when I'm over that way on 215, there are more and more people that are walking from Mystic to Noank or using that sidewalk. There's a lot of people. And it's very popular for biking over that way also. And I know that a lot of streets do not have sidewalks. That doesn't mean you're going to be safe, but it means that you think you're going to be safe.
Thank you.
well, I mean, you can't put a sidewalk on every street, but I think the main thoroughfares should have sidewalks or bike paths or something.
So I think paying attention to where the Complete Streets group, the planning goes on that, and staying a part of that loop of information would be really good as far as the sidewalks go. So we still have a few more to go. So social participation. So this one is about loneliness as a health condition and how there is isolation that people experience as they age. Sometimes having a chronic illness or disease exacerbates this. So we want to create opportunities to socialize and the availability of accessible, affordable, and fun social activities. So some of the goals we have here, again, encourage walking, biking, and public transit options. Oh no, this is the same slide again.
Same slide.
Yeah, I apologize for that. So you know what? We don't have anything. What do you have to say about social participation?
We need more. I mean, that kind of goes hand in hand with what I mentioned earlier about having events here and so forth, and maybe at different parts of the town that, not necessarily this property here, because there's like, oh my God, it's the senior center, Drive 55, you know what I mean? Like a different location, it might open itself up to more ages. So,
Some of the things that we talked about under social participation is, like in the parks, having an area where maybe instead of benches lined up, you actually put the benches in a U shape where people then are talking to each other and facing each other. We talked about, and one of the projects we're going to do here is painting checkerboards on top of the picnic tables, and then people can bring their chess set or checkers set, or we will, if we do it here, we'll have some at the library and some at Thrive 55 that people can just check out and use, maybe even doing backgammon boards on the picnic tables, but to get people out and socializing of any age. So looking at what are some, they're not formal things, but informal ways of socializing. I walk at Pequannock Plains Park every morning, and now you kind of get used to who's there at 6:30 in the morning, and we all kind of, if I'm not there, it's funny how people will say, didn't see you yesterday. And so you kind of build this little social group. So doing things like that, that was some of the things we were talking about around town to do that would draw people so that they'd say, oh, let's go down to Sutton Park. There's a nice little seating area in the shade. One of the things we also talked about is planting trees. People may not have noticed here, but we lost 30 trees on this end of the property to the emerald green boring beetle. And so we're currently fundraising to get more trees put back because the parking lot is an absolute, it is very hot when it's 90 degrees out there now. So if you do an event out there without the trees, you're not getting the shade. So looking at where there's shade trees and places to put picnic tables and things where people want to socialize. So those were some of the things we talked about around town. Events that the town does, like the holiday kickoff celebration, the parade that's coming up, those social events where you'll see your neighbors at, and what does the community want for social events? What would you like to see, whether it be Parks and Recreation Department or things done with the library, those kind of social things that we can put on as town employees? You know, like the concerts you've been bringing up. You know, we could do something like that and just open it up and say it's for, you know, 20-something and over, and bring in a band that's just for that.
Yeah.
You know?
When you have when you have your chili cook-off or your bake-off or any of that, what is your attendance like? And do you find that it's mostly seniors coming?
No, when we
All
do our
ages?
Super Bowl, our chili cook-off, we're all food-oriented here, our Baker's Battle, we generally get around 200 people, and most of them are actually families that we get to come here. You get our population that we focus on at Thrive 55, which is 55 and up, but we also encourage people from the community, and once the community knew about the Super Bowl and had attended a few times, the fear of, oh yeah, let's go there because we can sample, you know, 20 different types of soup, or the chili cook-off, you know, or the Baker's Battle, you know, we'll come and get our sugar high, and that's more, it's meant to be more for the community, so we market it to the community. We're not just marketing that to Thrive 55 plus. And people that attend here want to socialize with all ages.
I know that, yeah.
And so that's the whole goal. They love to have, they use it as their recreation center during the day, but when you do a social event,
Yeah.
they want to see everybody from the community here.
Do you see age groups 20, 30, 40-year-olds?
We actually, 40 and younger 50-year-olds participate in some of our programs because there isn't a program that they can get to. Either if we have space during the day and they work second shift, we let them in the programs. The same thing with our night programs. We have people that take Zumba or strength training class that are not of age for being what you would call a Thrive 55 plus person, but we open it up to them because it fits their schedule and it fills our classes. So, yeah, we're not hardcore 55 and older.
Is it marketed enough out there so the younger generation knows that they're welcome to come to social events?
We don't push it
Yeah.
because our focus
I
really
know.
staff-wise is 55 and older. Plus,
Right.
we're a division of Parks and Rec, and we don't want to compete with our other
No.
division.
Right.
But if we're offering something that we think the community would enjoy or people could take and Recreation Division is not offering it, yes, we'll
Okay.
market to anybody.
Yeah, maybe that goes more hand in hand with this group here versus, you know, Thrive 55 plus,
Right.
more of the social participation aspect of this group.
Do you have any programs that combine with Fitch? I give you.
Yes. We have some of the transitional Fitch students here helping in the kitchen. We have students from both Fitch and Grasso helping in our technology center doing cell phone help, and I've realized how poorly I know how to use my cell phone every time I go down and ask for help from them. But we like to have the students come in and assist us. When we do volunteering, we have some students that volunteer here, and they will do certain programs when it's on the evening or weekend and help us out. Our flea market, we had a couple of students come and help us set up just because you get younger, stronger people coming to help move a lot of stuff for the flea market. So we try to do different programs. We're working on a gardening program with Grasso. We've applied for a grant for that through Pfizer, so we're waiting to hear if we get that grant. We have our own garden in the back, but we want to kind of tie in with how do you do it organically? What is the best fertilizer? You know, we've learned a little bit through the Master Gardeners and through the Community Gardening Association, but we figured we'll bring the kids in to teach us what they've learned in their own program.
Have you ever done anything on a scholastic level? I think of, can't mention my mother was in an enormous, it was a Stonebridge-sized place. And they had an ongoing thing where they had the students, this is Philadelphia school system, did history projects. Well, where do you find more about more recent history than old people? And so suddenly their place was flooded with all these kids, these teenagers, who wanted to hear what they said, and
Right.
vice versa. The bonding was spectacular.
Yeah.
And the kids loved it, parents, everybody loved it. The only thing you needed to get was transportation in there somehow. And
Right.
I think the parents, I don't think my mother had to go to the high school. I think the kids came. But it certainly would be beneficial either way.
We've done history projects with the middle school, and where they interviewed, like, when this has been a while, when we were able to gather some World War II vets. But we also did one with the sub-vets, where the students got to learn about life on a submarine, and that made me say I would never go on one, you know, but they would talk about that, and the students learn a lot from that, and it's amazing the questions that they have. So we try to, during the school year, bring in students here for different programs or have the seniors go out. Sometimes it's hard, and since COVID, it has been really hard. We haven't
It's
really
stopped.
attempted to get there with going to the programs, but we do a lot of things virtually now, so we'll be working on that.
I like that oral history idea, though. That's
It was-
something maybe we can expand
It was a way to
on.
preserve it, because most of us didn't talk to our grandparents
Right.
early enough, so this is pseudo-grandparents kind of kicking in. At this point, the World War II vets are few and far between, so cover Vietnam era, that'll work too.
Oh, go ahead.
I've heard some teachers talk about how they don't have enough teacher aides, I guess they're called, in the classroom. They need more teachers' aides in the classroom, but there's no budget for it. But I'm thinking we have all these seniors who are retired, and can't we work together somehow between the schools and the senior communities to get the seniors into the schools to help the teachers with the classes, or to help kids with their homework, or with their studies, the ones who are having trouble or whatever, but bring the seniors and the kids together, and you'd have to have some kind of transportation set up for the seniors to get the seniors to the schools. But that's a real resource that the schools could really use, and it's just kind of going to waste.
That's a good one, too. Again in the back?
Yeah, way back when Mary Jo started, she used the word shade. In the middle of summer, it's tough for people to gather in parks unless there is shade. Obviously, trees provide it, but the other thing that provides it is having park shelters. And park shelters are a wonderful way of, allowing groups to gather, whether they be 2 or 3 people or families. And to be honest with you, the city does a better job of providing park shelters than the town does. So I think as you develop the parks, and I know that the town Parks and Recreation does have some money, they're going to do some park improvements, particularly at Sutton Park. I think they should consider putting in some more park shelters, particularly ones that, that provide appropriate sanitary facilities, adequate parking, lighting, safe areas, which I think would, enhance the use of the parks, as well as provide an opportunity to go and play chess or checkers at the park if you have that time early in the morning.
Very good suggestion. Thank you. All right. Sierra, go ahead.
I did definitely want to add, love that you guys are doing everything with the trees. the importance of having shade, and especially with climate change and everything that's going on, and just the natural urban heat island effects that we get here in Groton, just because the amount of asphalt we have here in the city, that's really good. But to check out Connecticut Deep's Urban Forestry Grant Program, they may be able to help you with that project as you move forward. And to get to the social participation, I really love how you guys are incorporating these elements within this plan, and also how that then speaks to the town's plan of conservation and development, and how that information gets fed there. Because when we're talking about this, it reminds me of Tabitha, you'll be familiar with it, a term called placemaking, where as planners, we bring the community together to actually really decide on how to design a space, whether it is a park, whether it is a corridor, and what elements really need to be considered in that process. So if we can start to document and get our community members used to going through that process, and this, it definitely.
All good stuff, Sierra, as usual. Thank you. To speak to that, I'm sure all of you saw on the way in, there's a flyer for Claude Chester Visioning on Monday. So there's a visioning meeting for that, to talk about placemaking there. So community health is our next category. At some point, every person of every age gets hurt, becomes ill, or simply needs some help. So while it's important that assistance and care be available, it's essential that residents are able to access and afford the services required. So we're talking about affordability of health care and access to health care. And our health service goals that we've fleshed out are that all residents should be able to access and afford health care. All residents should be able to take part in programmed activities to maintain health and well-being. So some actions are to educate residents on health and wellness resources available to them, encourage active living choices and fitness opportunities, including outdoor access to walking paths and open spaces, apply for grants for programs and services to help residents afford and access health care, employ a health insurance counselor to assist seniors on benefits available, etc., such as SNAP, hold an annual health expo, active living expo with various health representatives, hold fitness classes for the entire community in person and virtual, support outdoor adventure traveling seniors group, and they do balloon rides, hiking and tubing, for example. So this is taking care of yourself and how we can take care of each other. Comments?
Sounds good.
That's good.
All necessary.
All good, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's necessary.
This one's easy.
Does this want to kind of tie into, sorry, is there something we can do as part of this to be part of transportation, which is providing transportation to get people from wherever they are to healthcare?
Yes, that's a good one. Making sure that we have transportation to connect health services to residents.
And I know there are volunteer organizations, because people who are 56 can still drive, thank you. And so there's quite a pool of drivers that are kind of out there who could kind of chip in a little bit. We'll take this organization.
We, through the center, provide local medical transportation, but we have a state municipal match grant, which has expanded from just being Groton, East Lyme, and Waterford to 12 towns in southeastern Connecticut. And that is to the tune of almost $300,000 for medical transportation. And we run it through Eastern Connecticut Transportation Consortium. And it will pay for 18 round-trip rides free for seniors. But we also pay for, say, I was going to drive my father to a medical appointment, so we do mileage reimbursement to caregivers, which tends to be what a lot of people, they already have it set up with their family member. So this way we kind of take a little bit of the burden off the family member. They can either get a free ride or we pay for the mileage. And it's within New London County and as far over as Old Saybrook and into Westerly. So we kind of hit the majority of areas. If we have available money, we also provide a round-trip free ride out of the service area, so Yale, Hartford, Farmington, we've gone to Dana-Farber. So we try to assist as much as we can with the medical transportation.
How is that advertised? I
We
mean, I didn't know
advertise it
about this.
through our newsletter and through the senior center. And so it's the kind of thing where we put it on Facebook, we have it on our website. And one of the biggest things that I will always say is people don't read.
No.
It's out there, they don't read. People will say, I didn't know this event was going on, and it's on the front page of the newsletter. So it's really people asking is how it tends to get out there, word of mouth. So if people are using our transportation, they will tell other people, and that's how we tend to get new people. Or if somebody's moved to the area and they've used a senior center in their old town, they will call and say, do you have transportation?
How do you get the newsletter?
It's here at the senior center, it's at the library. We don't mail it out because of the cost, but if you want a subscription, you can pay for a subscription. It's $11 for the year, but it's also online. So you go to the town of Groton, go to Department of Parks and Rec, look up Thrive 55, and you can get to the newsletter from there.
Okay, but you don't email it out either?
No, it's 12 pages. It's a big document, so we don't email it out.
I'm going to go to the next, okay. Work and civic life. So this is about, work does not need to be an all or nothing experience. An age-friendly community encourages older people to be actively engaged in community life and has opportunities for residents to work for, pay, or volunteer their skills. So work and civic goals, get people involved in serving on town boards and commissions, make employment opportunities accessible to seniors, assist seniors with the skills to help with the transition to retirement, loss of spouse, or illness. And then some actions that go with that would be to develop and distribute a list, both hard copy and online, of volunteer opportunities, such as outside boards and commissions. For example, Friends at the Library, childcare, senior center, gardening club, sometimes these are all volunteer opportunities. Include short job descriptions, include part-time jobs and senior-friendly opportunities. And then hold aging mastery program for those retired transitioning back to the workforce and vice versa. And Mary Jo, I don't know if you wanted to say a word about the aging mastery program.
Aging Mastery Program comes from the National Council on Aging. It is an 8-week program. Sometimes it's 10 weeks, depending on how how delayed we get when we get talking about topics. But it goes over every single topic you can think of that if you're thinking of retiring or if you're retired, that you should address. It will talk about finances. It will talk about investing. We will talk about health. We'll talk about social relationships, relationships with your spouse. We talk about mental health during there. We talk about prevention, like fall prevention. And it's what they call an evidence-based program that through research, people that have attended and gone through this program are much more successful at aging, is what they were looking at through the National Council on Aging. It's free. We have a staff member here, Cindy Olson, who teaches it. We will be offering it again in the fall, and we kind of rotate. So it'll be in the morning, in the fall it will be in the afternoon, and then the next time it'll be in the evening, so that we try to hit people at all different times of days and availability. But it's a really good program to go through if you're planning on retiring, but if you're retired and you're thinking you're kind of, I'm not doing it well, you know, I need to do something more. This is a great way to kind of put focus on things.
When I go to the town website, I just went to the town website, there's nothing I can click on for volunteer opportunities. I need to drill into things to find out what I can do. Just having that being a header would help a lot, and it should be up front and center, because people kind of check in. There's a few things they want to see up front, and maybe that just need to be regularly revisited, is to see one for the app, which is different from, well, if you see it on a computer, but it should be a one button to say, what do we need?
Good suggestion. In the back?
You better add this one to your list, because I think everybody in the community should join a service club. I've been a member of the Groton Rotary Club since I moved to Groton, and actually, we hold our meetings here on Tuesdays at noon and do a lot of community service, give out a lot of scholarships. We're in a position where we can write grants to help community groups, and if anybody's interested, feel free to talk to me. I'd love to tell you a little bit more about it, but there are other clubs besides Rotary. I know Lions Club has a organization in Groton as well, and to be frank with you, it's becoming a challenge for service clubs to survive because less people are willing to step up, join them, and help the community. Plus, most of the members are gray-haired individuals like myself, if I had hair. So it's a great way to help your community, and it's something I've been doing for the last 30 years of my life. So add it to
Thank
your
you.
list. Join a service club.
Good idea. Anyone else? Do you have any comments?
I think what I see happening over maybe the last 10 years, less and less people seem to be volunteering, period. And I don't understand that. I don't understand why people think that they're alone and don't have anything to offer to a community. There are so many aspects that you could step up and help with in a community.
No, you're absolutely right. And one of the issues is the fact that 20, 30 years ago, businesses encouraged their employees to get involved, paid for memberships. That's gone away now. They don't want to give them the time or the resources to do it, and which, when I joined Rotary, was a completely different ballgame. But and not most of us, probably about half the club are retirees. And but what a nice place to have our meetings at the Groton Thrive 55 Center. Excuse me.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, just a couple more here. Respect and inclusion. So everyone wants to feel valued. Intergenerational gatherings and activities are a great way for young and older people to learn from one another, honor what each other has to offer, and at the same time feel good about themselves. I know we talked about this a bit already, so we may rehash a little bit. Some goals under respect and inclusion are to encourage respect through a code of conduct at the senior center, model behavior by staff, support the work of the Groton Diversity and Inclusion Committee, offer an all ages experience at events, facilitate a respectful and welcoming environment for all, including BIPOC and LGBTQ. I apologize, I can't say all the letters. Hold large social events that encourage mingling and inclusion across the age groups. Ask younger age groups, school representatives, what they need to actively participate in mixed age events, and ensure representation of diverse groups in published materials. Go ahead.
I'm not exactly sure why I'm saying this, but it just keeps coming back to me. A lot of what we're talking about here, well, not a lot, but quite a bit of it, is stuff that used to be accomplished at church. All the different age groups, all the families and all levels would come together on every Sunday, and they go to the church activities, and that's where everybody kind of mingled between the generations. But it seems like not that many people go to church as much as they used to. So that has left a void, and this could be something to help fill that void, maybe.
That's a very astute observation. I'm not sure, but it could be. Any other comments on this section?
Very important.
Very important, okay. Good. We got it right. Communication. So we communicate in ways that few could have imagined a decade ago. Age-friendly communities recognize that information needs to be shared through a variety of methods, since not everyone is tech savvy and not everyone has a smartphone or a home-based access to the internet. So some of our goals are to provide training on technology available, support information technology townwide, including more laptop availability, smart TVs, and stronger Wi-Fi for public buildings, increase public engagement, both signups and in-person representation, create more opportunities for volunteer and community activities. And then under actions, we have provide resources in the paper, on TV, and online, bulletin board, newsletter, as well as Facebook forums and Instagram, so really covering all our bases. Provide flyers to schools, but try to move to electronic forms of communication for other avenues, such as websites Greater Groton or the Parks and Recreation site. Socialization by phone, so we have Mary Jo has a program for socialization by phone where older adults are connected with people to have chats and socialize. Transportation sign up via phone, provide loaner tablets to those without access, provide hybrid programs when someone can come to a class offered both live and online, hold public information sessions around what kinds of activities are desired, provide workshops in day and evening around working hours, and connect people with volunteer activities other than boards and committees. I think things end up here because they could be done in multiple ways, communicated through multiple outlets. Go
So
ahead.
one thing I want to add, and I don't know if it's applicable to this category or the previous category about health resources, but as people age, and you know, most people know this, but some people are tech savvy, as noted, some people aren't. And then there are those who maybe were tech savvy, but are now transitioning into not being so tech savvy anymore. There's no, they don't have any advocates. They don't know who to turn to. You need to sign up online for a program or an appointment, and a lot of times you might call the phone number and they say, please go online, blah, 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 blah. And people get so frustrated, and I mean, I get it, but those people who are not tech savvy anymore or never were, they feel so frustrated. In many cases, they end up doing nothing because they have nobody to count on to advocate for them, to help them, whether it be set up appointments or get help with whatever they need. You know, I mean, let's face it, you know, we are very tech heavy, the time that we're in right now. And there's a lot of people who just can't handle it anymore, and they feel stuck. So I don't know what kind of resources there could be out there to help people, but it's just something that I see a lot of people have issues with.
Thank you.
Yep.
Other suggestions on communication and engagement?
I would say that you provide flyers to schools. That's probably the one place you don't need a flyer. It's all electronic for them, though mailers isn't in there. So there's going to be the judicious use of. I'm sorry. If I talk back into here, does that work better? Okay. I'm sorry. So the judicious use of mailers for some people, once they've kind of checked into the senior center, that might indicate, would you like mailer, or will you be able to use online? And that might also give an indication as to whether or not they're tech savvy. Because if they say, no, I can't handle online, the light bulb can go off and say, now we know who you are, and we have a program, or we're going to develop a program. But
Do you have a database like where you can track that kind of information, Mary Jo?
Yeah, we do have a database so that we know if somebody, and we actually have just did some statistics, and about 15% of the people that sign up for programs sign up online for us. The rest, because they come here, just go to the front desk. But people, when Robin was talking about the frustration, a lot of people get very frustrated with, I don't know how to use that medical portal, and they're telling me I have to book a doctor's appointment. We have a technology center that is manned in the morning, and we have people that are Apple people, people are HP people. So, you know, we try to guide people back there to get assistance with using their portal and being shown how to do things. Not only cell phone help, but if you have a laptop and, you know, I'm getting confused or it's buffering and I don't know what I'm doing, and we have a lot of people that go back there. We probably see close to 200 people a month just coming in with their laptops or cell phones saying, what's going on here? So helping with technology is something that not only here do we do at Thrive 55, but at the library. So if somebody's coming in after work, or we're not open, or for some reason our technology person is out that day, because they're all seniors, so they have lives other than just helping us, we direct them over to the library to get assistance. But I feel the same frustration with, yep, well, it's more my husband. He'll call and, oh, no, they want me to go on the portal to find out when my appointment is and what's going on, or my test results, and, oh, now I have to follow up with him. And he's like, can't you just do it on the phone? Mm-hmm. So helping seniors do that is one of the things we do. We have a benefits counselor through Senior Resources, which is our area agency on aging, and she will help people if they're applying for any kind of benefit. We have a Choices healthcare counselor that will do anything with your health insurance and your Medicare. So you see those people in person, but they can go online for you and walk you through your own account and show you where you're eligible for benefits, or help you with your own Medicare account and paying bills and that type of thing.
How much of this can happen remotely? I'm thinking in terms of tech help, or even some other things that you've been mentioning here that might be, all it takes is a phone call. Can you tell me
The
what button I'm
benefits
supposed to do?
counselor will see people by phone, will do things by phone with people. The technology, the tendency is the people will come in because they're not getting it at home, so they bring their item in to do it here. We do a lot of programs, education programs, virtually or hybrid, so, you know, people can be at home or they can be here taking the program. We started that prior to COVID, doing virtual programs and education across the country. We actually did a space station virtual meeting one time with one of the astronauts, which was the coolest thing to me. And everybody said, well, why are you doing it at 8 o'clock at night? It's because that's when they're going to be above us, and that's when we can do it. So, but again, it's trying to do that combination of things. And so we really do, if people come to us, we try to help them. It's an individual thing too, because your level is going to be different than my level, which mine's pretty low, so. Robin?
To piggyback onto what you're saying, what is the percentage of people who come in, not only do they need help, but they don't want to learn? They want somebody to set up, to get on the portal and do what they need to do, and they're just like,
That's something we tell them they have to get to a certain point, or at least with the medical portal. Now, you can always call your doctor's office. They can't force you. They'll try to push you to the portal, but they will do things over the phone. You just have to be patient with them, too.
yeah, patience is lacking
Yeah.
everywhere.
I think when everybody came back after COVID, they were all like, let's get going. And yeah, they weren't patient to get that. We're still kind of in a slow-mo thing here.
It's red and green. What does that mean? Is that a
You should be
battery?
okay.
You should be fine.
Anyway,
Yeah.
can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Years ago, when computers first came into being and a lot of use back in the 60s. A friend of mine said, I don't know if I'm that interested. This looks to me like it's going to be desocialization. And does anybody else feel? I think that's true. I think that that has come to be, that this technology and this emphasis on doing all this technological stuff has tied you up at home to clear your emails, and I think it is desocialization. I come to have agreed with that, and this was presented many years ago.
It's a scary thing, technology.
Does anybody think that?
I would agree in some respect. Yeah, definitely. It separates us to some extent, but I think that in today's society, we all depend on it as well. So
That's right.
we need it.
I would say there's the pluses and the minuses, and we've gotten to see that happening when we went to Zoom meetings for the Planning and Zoning Commission. Suddenly, we could have 50 people show up,
Yeah.
and it wouldn't overwhelm us. We would have had 12 in person. We just maybe 20. Suddenly, everybody gets involved. They all see it. It's all on the record. They can review it afterwards. We can get comments flood in because now everybody can be a part of it in that extent. So there's the pluses and the minus. Yeah, we're not getting to shake their hand. We wouldn't have anyway. They would have been in the audience. So certain community involvement, it actually enhanced tremendously because everybody can just tune it in. Besides watching it after the fact, they can actually be part of it.
And they're watching it live on YouTube right now. So
Right.
that's technology.
There we are.
Hello, everyone. Okay, so we're actually wrapping up. So this last slide just shows you where we are in our process. So as we talked about, we saw our age-friendly designation, formed a committee, identified some goals and actions, and right now we're in the community feedback phase, where we're asking all of you for your feedback, and then we'll put it out on our social networks and such to collect some more feedback and put that back into the document. So then we'll be finalizing that action plan, that document, folding that suggestions in there, and then from there, because it's not something so formal that council has to approve, we just implement. We just say we're going to do this, and we're going to wrap it into the POCD, and vice versa, and we're going to wrap it into complete streets and vice versa. So if you have further suggestions, please feel free. I think I put my email. No, we didn't. My email is tharkin, THARKIN, @groton-ct.gov. And if anyone has suggestions, please send them my way or Mary Jo's way.
Yeah, and you know where to get me.
You know where to find her. And question.
After you have this all done and completed and implemented, is part of the plan going to be like to have a meeting like this once a year to get revisions or new ideas going and then revise the plan and make it better?
I think that's an excellent suggestion, and I think that always having that feedback loop of putting something out and seeing how you can make it better makes sense. So let's add that to the list of suggestions, and we'll keep going at this thing. So thank you all for coming out tonight. And your
I was hearing
comments.
that is this a unified City of Groton, Town of Groton effort?
Yes, it is.
Does it overlap into Groton, Long Point, Noank, other places, or are they kind of on their own?
They have been kind of quiet, but definitely we would like to wrap them in and
Definitely.
incorporate those comments.
If they're part of the town or the city, we want to include everybody.
Yes.
And so there are a lot of other committees, there's things that planning's working on, things that our department's working on, and other departments are working on, that all fall within this plan. So it's now part of what we need to do is kind of pull together some of that. And then I'll wave to Anna from AARP is online viewing this, but AARP will also help us with making sure we meet the guidelines for this. One of the big reasons I initially got interested in this, and now it's kind of expanded, was that AARP does quick action grants where we could get a grant to buy 20 trees and replant our trees. We could get a grant to put in one of the shelters at a park with benches and chairs underneath for gatherings, those kind of things. We could implement a concert with that type of grant for the adult community. So, but they want to see that we're working towards this livable community. And in the long run, it benefits all ages.
It's just good planning, so thank you, everyone.
Thank you.